KTSM AM 690 Studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. Be a part of the show by calling 915-544-KTSM, 915-544-5876, or comment online on our stream at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. It's 4 p.m. Mountain Time, and that means it's time to talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live, streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk, and of course Talk El Paso, brought to you in part by Sunland Park, Jeep, Chrysler, Dodge, Ram.net. Find them, of course, just right across from Sunland Park Mall, across from, of course, I-10 and all that good stuff. Just head down Sunland Park Drive, and you'll see them with some of those big banners in the distance. So again, Sunland Park, Chrysler, Dodge, Jeep, Ram, Fiat. And of course, some people are already chiming with us in on the social media, including Ida Beza Gardner, wishing a hi and happy Thursday to all. So we had a suggestion yesterday to treat this as a Throwdown Thursday. Now, we are still on air tomorrow, so don't be surprised as all that we're going to be there, and we'll still be doing Free for All Friday as we usually do, and a little bit more program notes than we usually get into at this point. But I will admit that these last couple of days we've gone way more in depth on a particular subject, that of Prop K, particularly from the proponents of such, and I do feel we have neglected a bit some of y'all's ability to chime in on that. So by my calculations, we got about, let's call it 2 segments worth that we ended up since that stretched most of the first hour for the shows for the last couple of days. So I think we will be opening up those phone lines early with an emphasis on Prop K and those things, but I'm sure we've got plenty of other things to go on, because I mean, there's other stuff that we're going to be talking about today, including a couple of significant anniversaries going on right now, as well as a lot of other stuff going on in the community. So we're still going to be talking about a lot of the local stuff, the impacting stuff, and all the stuff that affects us here in the borderland, and having the opportunity to discuss it. But like I said, we are also going to be delving a little bit more into and making more available some of those phone lines there, probably opening it towards the middle of this hour, which is not what we have normally done recently. But again, by my calculations, got some room to make up, and I'm sure there's still a lot that is there to be said, or wanting to be said, when it comes to Proposition K, the El Paso Climate Charter Amendment, and all the associated topics, again, dominating our interviews for this last, just called the bulk of this week, because complicated subject, lot to get to. And of course, if y'all missed it, we do have the full 2-hour interview, 2-hour plus interview with the proponents of Prop K, and even in some cases the actual authors of the language that is both on the ballot and then would be implemented if it were to be voted in. And so you can see that to its entirety, like 2 hours, 11 minutes and change, something like that. Yeah, we posted that up online, posted over on all our social media. It's over on our YouTube channel, so if you want to head straight there, for those of y'all on that particular location can just see it right now. But like I said, we'll be getting to those phone calls a little bit earlier than usual, not immediately, but in short order. So because there's a lot more that has, there's a lot been said and a lot more that needs to be, but that's not to say that we're going to drag that out any further. I mean, if people are wanting to comment further on it, absolutely, that's an idea. But there's also a lot going on in the meantime. Don't worry, we're going to be talking about the stuff going on here and right now, among other things, more details, prosecutions, and both answers and more questions, therefore, being raised from the investigation into the Juarez Immigration Detention Center fire, including, well, news title from our news partners at KFOX 14 today. Reports say officials couldn't find the keys to save migrants from deadly Juarez fire. And now, not even just a top Juarez or Mexican immigration official, but also some regional ones as well, facing prosecution related to all of this. Also, new numbers on both what is happening right now whenever it comes to those that are waiting right across the border in order to attempt crossing, asylum claims, those kind of things, and what the anticipation is of the impact right in our area when we start to see the elapsing of Title 42. We'll delve further into that, particularly compared to the current numbers. And then, yes, this is a significant day and an anniversary in a variety of ways, including very specifically the 10-year anniversary of the demolition of the Asarco smokestacks. This is actually, for those of us over on the social media, this is a picture that I had a hand in taking as we were actually out on, not too far from what I'm sitting right now. Actually, we were over on Executive Center Drive, the part that was, behind the barricades, because we had been actually doing some work through company was working documentary production, Capstone Productions, doing work with the actual bankruptcy administrator and trustees that were in charge of the Asarco site that was then being demolished. So that tower coming down just after daybreak, you can kind of see the light just starting to hit the Juarez Mountains in the background, but the tower itself still in shadow as the demolition happened. Also, just ever so slightly personally important, happens to be my wedding anniversary. We had the date first, in my defense, but well, things happened, and couldn't exactly ask him, can you push it to the next day? And then, of course, there was also the demolition of City Hall happening at the same time. Demolition weekend, as it was known. So 10 years since that. So I'm sure there'll be some interesting conversations and points that y'all can bring up of what has changed, including the fact that, now there's a ballpark and more things like that. So that's just one example, but then also just a lot of stuff going on in and around the borderland, and of course affecting us here as well, including what is going on with the Texas Legislature, the budget fight. That is, okay, maybe not the budget itself, but the tax relief part of it that has certainly been a focus, but the way to go about it, setting up a bit of a kerfuffle there in the Texas Legislature. So those are some of the things that we are going to be getting into, but again, we'll be opening those phone lines a little bit earlier than we usually do, probably about right after the half-hour break. So just stay tuned, and that we'll make it perfectly clear. Well, it looks like I actually have the phone number up there already, but we'll make it perfectly clear of when we are fully opening up those phone lines. We'll jump in the gun there. Anyway, so let's talk about some of those main things going on right now that, couldn't find the keys is one of the answers that raises even more questions coming to the Juarez Detention Center fire. Among other things, quoting our news partners at KFOX 14, quoting the El Paso Times, saying that on the morning of the deadly fire, immigration agents apprehended a group of Venezuelan migrants and took them to the governmental facility. And Mexico's law of migration states migrants could not be detained for more than 36 hours, though some of the reports are that there were those that were locked up for weeks in there. And women were kept in 2 small dorms with bunk beds, and men in 1 large room with foam mattresses. And some of that video that has been circulating around since that incident came to light, and showing that there was questions on how exactly it was even being handled, including how the fire was spreading and people were seemingly standing around doing nothing. So some more of the investigation shows that one migrant used a lighter to set fire to a foam mattress around 9 p.m. that night, and that's, among other things, the reason that we saw some of the officials in that, or employees, staff, however you want to put it, were actually not able to find the keys to let them out. And so this has led to, among other things, being noted by El Paso Matters specifically here, top Mexican immigration officials face criminal charges to deadly Juarez Migrant Center fire. Of course, we mentioned in previous days that the commissioner, actually, of the National Institute of Migration, Commissioner Francisco Garduño Yanez, don't think we had the last name fully said there yesterday, but then also Salvador Gonzalez Guerrero, been basically charged for being remiss and not doing more to prevent the fire despite documented problems at migrant detention centers under their purview, including those temporary holding cells in the Juarez facility, again, according to the Office of the Attorney General, saying a little bit earlier this week. So more fallout coming even further from that, as we have a lot of people chiming in right now. I've been remiss in addressing that, including RJ promotes most hoaxes and deceptions are complicated. I'm Barbanda with the Rock on Flaco Menace. Appreciate the happy anniversary. Not the major point I'm making, but it's inseparable in my mind. Manda Moncanda, hello to you as well. Mark Mandingo, good afternoon there. And RJ promotes talking about, that detention center fire, saying, I saw the fires and spoke, and the angry inmates starting them, so finding the keys for the guards was maybe a choice to be difficult to find. I think that's at least part of the prosecution going on there. And James Radcliffe also addressing the Asarco whole situation. Just a little bit of back end on what I had going on with that is that the demolition weekend was the culmination in a lot of ways of a lot of work that I'd actually been doing, again, apart with what was actually going on with the leading up to the demolition and now pending sale of it. We had been all through the facility right up until it was being demolished, and it was eerie in a variety of ways, including the fact that, abandoned-ish industrial facilities, but abandoned particularly in this case because the facility, as we came to find, was shut down not exactly as let's pack this up and see if we maybe use it later. Everything was just turned off one day, going back to the whole Asarco situation. And there was still ore on some of the beds and conveyor belts that was used to move it around. Gloves that had just been kind of put down on the top of a post, like a sledgehammer that was just then leaned against a wall as if someone was going to come right back and pick it up. And then a decade and change had passed. So it was eerie going through that. And let's just say the amount of animal evidence, going to put it politely that way, that was also throughout a lot of the facility was very interesting, if not maybe a bit hazardous to see. And the real thing about that place is, as much as it was a major industrial center, it was also a legacy one, in the fact that this was not we decided we're just going to start up a smelter and build all this out one day. It had grown over not even just decades, but generations. And so there was, in some of those locations, including a roughly 2.5 story flywheel that was used for some of the power generation that used to happen on site. Now, most of that, of course, having been scrapped, and the site, anyone driving by I-10 can see the majority of it and what has been removed. So it's an impacting weekend and remembrance of it. But of course, the things that have gone going forward, maybe not as much from the Asarco site, even if there are some questions about what will come next, and still a lot of pending things, I guess, would be the best way I can think about it. Mostly feel like it's centered around what is or isn't happening involving I-10. Question that came up the other day on when is that I-10 West construction going to end? Yeah, it's 2040s is what I'd say. And if that sounds tongue-in-cheek, it kind of is, but it kind of isn't, because whatever parts they're working on right now, it's gonna get worse construction-wise. It's supposed to get better in the long run, more revamping, refinishing, all of that, but whatever you're thinking about right now is literally the tip of the iceberg. And I'm not even just talking about the part you can see above water, but the capstone, so to speak, of the iceberg, because we got a whole lot. They're literally going to be doing the underground work, roadbed maintenance, and that's what's going to be going through the rest of the county. Those in Northwest, my neck of the woods right now, are getting the brunt of it at the moment, but that's not where it ends. So that's why I think, and connect that to the whole circus situation, I'm wondering if waiting on that is a part of the back end, waiting until whatever's going to go on with that roadway is going to change things, change access, etc. But your guess is as good as mine when it comes to that. Just making me think about it on this. Again, 10 years to the day, April 13th, when it was the demolition weekend in El Paso kicking off, and then the other side of it with City Hall demolished, and now a ballpark there, the diffusion of city facilities that I've seen in the multiple different city halls, or city 1, 2, 3, or the way they put them now. Very interesting, and definitely kicked off by that. Ironically enough, happened to be in downtown that morning as well, and was able to feel the aftershocks of it, but that's a story for another time. Let's go ahead and take that first break of this hour right now. You are, of course, tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk, talking more about some of the things affecting us in the borderland, including the numbers, the breakdown, as it's been seeing so far, on what immigration and border security issues might be cropping up as we get closer to the end of Title 42, but all that and more. Stay tuned. More Talk El Paso after this break on News Radio 690.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound starting to slow down from Trans Mountain to the 54 Patriot through downtown. It's a 7-minute delay. Montana Avenue eastbound from Yarborough out to Zaragoza, 7-minute delay. Southbound Mesa from the upper valley of the I-10 down to Wyoming Yandell exits. It's a 5-minute backup. And heads up for an accident reported northbound Yarborough after Lafayette. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
How could $1,000 change your life?
I could buy eggs.
Then listen for inflation compensation. Your chance to win $1,000 to combat high prices.
Honey, we're going to have eggs.
Yes, it's excellent. Be listening for your chance to win $1,000 with inflation compensation.
Listen for your chance to win $1,000 every hour, 9 through 5 p. with the inflation compensation on News Radio 690 AM. Brought to you by Charlie Clark Nissan and Charlie Clark Infinity of El Paso.
Orale!
This report is sponsored by the Tudor Dixon Podcast.
Coming up on the next episode of the Tudor Dixon Podcast, why is the left so eager to push the trans agenda on our kids? Don't miss the eye-opening episode with Yaku Boyens. Catch the Tudor Dixon Podcast on the iHeartRadio app, Apple Podcasts, or wherever you get your podcasts.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members FDIC. Terms and conditions apply.
What if you could do business without busy work? With Ramp, you can. Ramp is the future of finance with smart automation, corporate cards, and spend management. Just imagine, no more expense reports or shuffling wrinkled receipts. No more slogging through invoices or getting surprised by unexpected charges. Just your business's big idea with smart spend controls, automation that crushes busy work, and real-time insights so you can make it happen. In other words, Ramp completely reimagined finance to make it work for your business. Get set up, issue corporate cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. See how Ramp does finance. Join today and get $250 just for signing up. Just go to ramp.com/finance. That's ramp.com/finance to get $250 for signing up. That's ramp.com/finance.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Attorney CPA Joe Cordell.
Divorce forces a father to focus on what's most important, his children. You may no longer be a husband, but you'll always be a dad. In the divorce process, this comes down to three key concerns: physical custody, decision-making, as well as financial support. Each of these is important, and it's important that you choose a lawyer that cares as much about these issues as you do.
Schedule an appointment with one of Cordell & Cordell's Dallas-Fort Worth area attorneys. Offices in Dallas, Fort Worth, and St. Louis. CordellCordell.com.
Weather and traffic info. You need it? We have it. Traffic and weather all day. Stay informed. News Radio 690 KTSM. With an open channel.
I guess just try to keep channels open.
We welcome open-minded individuals.
I try to keep an open mind to all issues.
With open arms.
I think we need to always have our eyes open.
For open conversation. And when you open the iHeartRadio app, you open a whole new world. Wherever you are.
What should America do about immigration crisis?
I guess open the borders, but at the same time, check everyone that's coming in.
Open the gates.
A free download in the App Store or at ktsmradio.com. The most current and comprehensive. Just minutes away at the top and bottom of the hour. And always online at ktsmradio.com. Getting a news feed on your phone while driving
makes driving more difficult.
This is dangerous.
Getting a news feed without a computer or mobile device?
It would be impossible.
Unless, of course, you get your live news feeds at the top and bottom of the hour.
It's easy.
Traffic and weather all day.
It's as simple as that.
Trending stories tend to change.
Every minute of every day.
Twice an hour, we'll feed your curiosity.
Stay informed.
Shouldn't we listen?
They're hungry.
News Radio 690 KTSM. El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages. We're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Again, if you appreciate the ability to have the conversation, talk about the things that affect us here in the borderland and beyond, as you get towards the end of the week, but particularly here right now, from wherever they may be originating from, appreciate those likes and reacts as well, as we already have Flaco Jimenez, Amber Banda, John Brazelton, Marky Mandingo, RJ, Robbie Flores, Monica Cervantes, Ida Beza Gardner, and James Holmes. Dropping those likes, we do appreciate it. And some of the comments coming in right now, including about On some of the Osarco situation, Mark Mandingo saying after those comments led to all the current place yards being dug and replaced with Superfund money, and some of the, there were some news stories and investigations that were going around about the time. I remember there was actually a renew the smelter effort that's, from what I actually saw on site, it never really got the chance to get off the ground because there wasn't so much I'll just turn it back on as replace a significant portion of it, at least from the perspective I had. James Ratcliffe saying, I know that very much since Sarko used to be a customer of the lab I used to work at. Interesting enough. And Mark Mandingo saying, I'll eat tree bark and wheatgrass before bugs, but those chilito flavored crickets are good. Again, I've had chapulines. I'm not sure I'd do it again on purpose, but they were fine. I'll say that. RJ saying, it still seems strange not to see the old smokestack, but hey, maybe toxic condos on the Rio will replace it. So this, to my understanding, that some of the agreements that are going to have to go into this as, okay, not saying that the site is actively toxic. And in fact, a lot of the stuff that was scraped up, there are, if you know where to look at in some of the arroyos around there, there actually are some like a continuation mitigation sites. That's, again, a whole nother show to go into that. But basically, on that actual property that was Osarco proper, to my understanding, there can never be residential anything, period, because of, well, basically regulations that go into it. So, I mean, ironically enough, there used to be apartments actually below Osarco. Anyone driving along Paisano, once you get past the kind of like railroad and then the American Dam Bridge that's through there, once you go, actually, again, not too far from our offices here, go down Executive and turn left, headed towards downtown, get on the low road by Paisano, there's that strip. In between, I think there's like a warehouse there now and like a border patrol like substation facility kind of thing. They park their vehicles there a lot, it seems like. That used to be Smelter Town, and there used to be rows and rows of houses right there, and those actually got demolished decades before, primarily due to my understanding, a diesel contamination being right next to railroads and all that kind of stuff. So there have been things down there, but don't think that can ever be put again. So anyway, that's a part of it and what comes along with it. And I don't even know what I'd be shilling for if I was shilling for something here. So I'm saying what it is. If you got information opposed to that, feel free to mention it. Other than you're just calling names, well, good luck with that. I'm sure you're fun at parties. Anyway, some of the other major things going on in the area, I was talking about it right before the break, about the numbers and the impacts coming from them that are expected as we are creeping towards that, I want to say it's May 11th date that is anticipated for the federal end of pandemic era restrictions, which of course would include Title 42, the one that is still being used even now. It's come up in some of the stash house busts that we have been discussing lately about the amount of things that are therefore being pushed out and being, well, deported, the people specifically, besides the prosecutions that are happening. There's, according to El Paso County judge specifically, and in reporting from our news partners at KFOX 14, what El Paso County Judge Ricardo Samaniego said yesterday, I do believe, or no, he's speaking about yesterday, so this is what he had to say, quote, yesterday we got some intel that there's almost 30,000 migrants already waiting. The majority of those are from Venezuela, who are the ones that are most affected by Title 42. So with that information in mind, and with, again, that anticipated end of it, and I am sure, as much as there may still be some misinformation going on out there, we've seen a couple of impacts coming from that of what I frankly would refer to as mimetic warfare, about an idea that ends up getting weaponized and having people act on it, like what we've seen in some of the protests or maybe attempted mass crossings in our area, depending on your perspective on it. There's now expectation, at least from the county side, that once we hit that date and we see the end of it, anywhere between 7,000 and 8,000 migrants arriving daily in El Paso, according to Samaniego, noting further that shelters in Juarez are at capacity. So some of the things that have already been done by the county, of course, including asking for some advanced grants, I think numbering about $24 million, at least at the moment, from FEMA and other federal agencies. But yeah, that's this would be reaching levels, even higher watermarks, I got to say. According to the city of El Paso, based on numbers reported from some of the regionally active agencies, including, of course, primarily CBP. Again, you can see these numbers for yourself. I thought the page had been taken down for just a minute, but it's still up there. The migrant crisis or the migrant situation awareness dashboard at elpasotexas.gov/migrant-crisis. We've been at a pretty consistent low comparatively level recently, ever since basically the end of the last quarter of last year, such as for the most recent complete week, looking at, let's call it, can't even pull it up, in recent weeks, averaging around like 1,000 to 1,200, give or take, on track for 950 releases in total for this calendar week so far. There have been some bumps that could be seen in terms of encounters on the rolling average, but I want to say hovering about 900, 1,000 each day, and the in custody actually having recently hit the 7-day rolling average for the last complete week, about 4,000 in custody in our region. But there is, again, that's just kind of the situation we're in right now. So if this were to be seeing further high water marks, that would definitely be causing, well, issues. And that's why some of the funds that are being expected to be used or needed, and just further preparation, I'm not seeing any exact statements. So if someone's seen this, let me know, of the, no, we're ready, bring it on kind of things, because I would hope we've learned a lesson from that, from the most recent time that Title 42 was being considered being removed and then didn't even end up being it. But the idea was so strongly in place and held by some that were, among other things, most affected by it, that, just there's a lot that goes into this. And doing any kind of like mocking tone towards it just does not make sense to me. And so, that's possibility of them coming across because of the end of Title 42. I mean, from the functional enforcement side of things, it basically means that immediate removals are no longer strictly possible. They then have to go in through Title 8, which does end up being an expedited process, but still involving the immigration quote-unquote courts. Not saying that it isn't not questioning necessarily the legitimacy, but phrasing them as courts is a little bit misleading to me, because they're not under the judicial system and they do not have the same kind of rules and procedures. Oftentimes, particularly in our region, removal is the vast majority, the near entirety of the outcomes that happen. Some of these, actually, University of Buffalo, among other things, has some really good stats that come out on this. They do have a tracking department on this. We are in the high 90% percentile in the El Paso Border Patrol sector of denials for asylum cases, among other things. So, there's a lot to be anticipated there, even if what will actually happen, and if we see that continue to be a constant flow, and what new enforcement mechanisms. Of course, the Biden administration focusing a lot on the CBP One app, but that has also come with its own challenges, primarily technologically. I've been reading some reporting coming from not even just our region, but the entire border sector and other parts of it, about how there's a phenomenon now of being seen in the areas that have signal of groups of people, like tens, hundreds, thousands of them gathering at when the app basically opens and the bookings become available every day in order to try to catch a bit of signal to get into it. So I'm not sure that qualifies as the pressure relief valve that I've often talked about, because, well, we're seeing what happens when there isn't that, including increases and, again, the stash houses I was mentioning, the rabbiting or ditching situation, as it's more officially called, I guess, where it is that someone, whoever is ending up smuggling groups of people, gets presented by law enforcement, seems to more often not end up flooring it, and then crashing in some variety or another, either into a ditch, into a building, or hopefully not into another car or person, but that has been the case in at least a couple of these instances. So I'm not going to call that great either. So those are a few of the things going on. Just a couple of quick notes I wanted to mention on, if anyone's wondering what was going on around noon today, or a little bit before. There was a vehicle fire west El Paso along I-10 and Red Road. Was all reopened by about 12:30, but another vehicle fire happening in the area. Code enforcement has put out a notice that they are going to be coming and checking on the overgrown weeds or uncultivated plants, is the way they're putting it. So that sounds like a great euphemism for whatever you don't have that's clearly a planting is getting too big. But I will say that the city seeming to be a little bit maybe more proactive on their end, at the very least in my neck of the woods. I've been seeing a lot of crews like them closing lanes and doing some major median work. So I haven't seen the same kind of blooms that have been happening in previous years when I was using the phrase dis you if you get the fee and just take a picture of your nearest median. Not happening this time around just yet. And just one final thing I wanted to mention before we end up taking that break and opening up those phone lines. A long, slow trip to a very hot place for whoever left 2 dogs and 9 puppies locked in a crate in the middle of an East El Paso park. Article title from our news partners at KFOX 14. 2 dogs, 9 puppies found abandoned in crates in East El Paso Park, and Crime Stoppers of El Paso asking for any details on this. And the Tierra Buena Park at 12732 Pebble Hills Road. This call coming in at 5 a.m. on March 29th. And they got the pictures over there, a little bit heartbreaking, of just literally just locked in crates, left out in the middle of the, well, nowhere. I'm just going to call it that way. And so, yeah, anyone willing to do that? I have various other questions about your humanity and if you're fit to exist alongside other humans. Anyway, let's go ahead and take that next break right now. So as I did mention and somewhat promised, we're going to go ahead and open up those phone lines now, as I do feel like we've got some ground to cover on the local issues from recent days, as we've had a very in-depth focus on our recent discussion. So we'll go ahead and open up those phone lines now. That number to call if you want to come in. But I mean, kind of emphasis Prop K. Let's just put it that way. Even more reporting going on that I'll mention out at the start of the segment, this coming one. But if you want to chime in on that, haven't had a chance to do so, now you are particularly invited to call in. So that number, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM. News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
A woman whose body was found in red sands was dating the murder suspect. That's according to court documents. Christopher Palmaya.
News Radio 690. News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
From the KFOX Morales Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Bradley Cameron. A person who was identified.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com, and I sell custom blinds designed for do-it-yourselfers. Unlike stock blinds offered at big box retailers, Blindster blinds are custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. Don't hire an expensive pro. Do it yourself.
I'm Martin Hoke, the inventor of Navage Nasal Care, and I love Navage. I've told you about how your nose is the body's air filter, that Navage's powered suction will help flush out allergens, viruses, mucus, and germs, and that Navage will help you breathe better. But what do other people say about Navage? Like Tara, quote, "My doctor wanted me to do saline rinses for my allergies, but I've never been able to successfully use a neti pot. Navage uses suction power, so it's foolproof. There are nights when I'll have particularly bothersome allergies. I'll bust it out, and the results are immediate. It's such a relief. It's become a lifesaver," unquote. She's one of over 100,000 online reviews praising Navage, the all-natural solution trusted by over 3 million people to help you breathe better, sleep deeper, snore less, and stay healthier without drugs. Navage is available at Walmart, CVS, Walgreens, Target, Rite Aid, and online. Navage, Navage, clean nose, healthy life.
For the local issues and discussion you won't get anywhere else, turn to Talk El Paso. Weekdays at 4 right here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Brought to you in part by the El Paso Community Foundation. Sound off on what matters to you, Monday through Friday, 4 to 6 p.m. And let's talk El Paso.
Know what time it is? It's diner time. And now Denny's presents the new Diner Classics Plus menu with instant classics like the new Spicy Moons made with spicy chorizo and jalapenos, or the new red, white, and blue buttermilk pancakes. Craving breakfast, lunch, dinner, or anything in between? At Denny's, it's diner time. This report is sponsored by Denny's.
In 50 feet, turn left. Why are you driving so slowly?
After a few drinks, I'm taking it slow.
Well, you're not fooling the cop behind you.
What?
Get ready to pay in 0.1 miles.
Getting pulled over for buzz driving could cost you around $10,000 in fines, legal fees, and increased insurance rates. Nothing kills a buzz like getting pulled over for buzz driving, because buzz driving is drunk driving. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. According to court documents, the missing woman whose body was found in Red Sands earlier this week was dating the murder suspect. Christopher Paul Maya was charged in connection to the murder of Michelle Morales Nakaza. On Wednesday, Maya's arrest affidavit stated that Maya shot Morales Nakaza multiple times with an unknown weapon. A person who was identified as a witness told detectives that Morales Nakaza and Maya were in a toxic relationship for years, and that Maya had said that he was going to kill her on multiple occasions. The rodeo is returning to the El Paso County Coliseum this summer. A rodeo event is scheduled for June. It's a two-day event. It'll be
AM 690 Studios. It's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on their various social media pages, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. Yeah, John Braslin asking what's going on there. All I can say is bugs in the system, monkeys and wrenches and monkey wrenches in the back end. Fighting it as best as I could. If you heard some mild exclamations from me, that was because I guess I was a little bit too close to the mic as I was fighting off that. So should be back up now. Don't worry, we'll have that news update back on for you this coming segment because none of that was supposed to happen. Simple answer for you there. But a lot more other things and comments coming in on a lot of these type of questions and comments and situations we got going on, including on the whole City Hall demolition part of it. John Brazelton associating part of that with John Cook getting scared when someone from Juarez put a bullet in his office window. I do recall that news story I think you're talking about, but I think it was that there were essentially bullet holes that were found along parts of the part that was actually facing Juarez, among other things, which I don't believe actually had windows on it. So if the mayor at the time ended up coming and finding bullet holes in his window, I don't remember that particular aspect of it, and I don't think it was the main reason that ended up happening. If anything, the new City Hall, the old El Paso Times building, is closer, so I don't know if that analysis totally bears out. I'm just going to say it that way. Other comments coming in, including, pray for footage and a quick trial for the animal abuser. Nothing like video to convict. Yeah. Anyone that's just going to abandon an animal and not even just let them loose, but leave them in a cage, unable to remove themselves. What do you think was going to happen, my dude? And Trito Sack, I'm mentioning that Horizon City has a bad loose dog problem. Dog owners here are not very bright and evidently don't take precautions to secure their fences to prevent their fur babies from getting out. I'm going to agree with you on the idea that there is a excess pet population, but I don't know if anyone that would refer to them as fur baby is really going about it this way. Honestly, it just seems to be a different attitude, really on the outskirts, once you start getting into the lesser developed parts of not even just El Paso, but the county in general, of there are just dogs here, like that kind of a concept, and they live outside and they do whatever. And I'm not calling that a good thing. Do not get me wrong. And licensing requirements own a dogs. There are within the city of El Paso. Actually, you do have to have a dog license. So that's what I'm going to say. This is not maybe a totally conscious thought of I'm going to get all these dogs and just let them run free. That's my plan. I think you're applying a different mindset and mentality than really ends up existing for the contributions of this problem as just it's just the kind of thing that happens. Kind of consideration. Anyway, other comments coming in, including Trito Sack definitely being upset about the idea of letting human children do this. And again, I would agree with you entirely. This is not the way things should be done, but I don't think it's as much of a malfeasance thing as opposed to not my problem type of situation. I got to say, that's my thing. Question coming in from the YouTube about saying something about El Paso statistics regarding a 90% denial rate of refugee requests, that after they've been released into the interior. Yes and no. So we're talking about not Title 42 removals or even Title 8 removal processing, but those that actually come and request asylum. There's whole sets of times that there are. Some of those ending up being released pending we're coming back to it. So yes, it can involve those, but doesn't necessarily by rote. But so of the cases that are either originating or end up being processed here, they are upwards. Like, I'm not even talking like 90%. I'm like 95, 99%, I believe, is the range that's happened like since 2016. If I'm remembering the data correctly, I have to dig that up again, that are being denied. So as you have requested asylum, that the request is being denied kind of outcome of the process and the proposal. So, and of course saying, the Darien Gap, another kind of a serious issue kind of thing. And RJ saying neighborhood used to have a Chihuahua mafia running the streets. I think they finally figured out a way to plug the holes in the gate. Okay, now I'm curious if you're talking about humans or dogs. I'll have to double check that. Anyway, let's go ahead and get to those phone lines as I promised to do here. So we do have, again, if you want to call in, that number to do so, 915-544-5876-544-KTSM. We do have Ben on the east side here with us right now. Ben, thanks for joining us.
Hello, Andrew. Isn't it interesting that Judge Samaniego is worrying now about all the concerns that Guadalupe Guerrero was talking about in the November election?
Mm-hmm.
All the all the things that are going on at the border, and things that could go on the border, once the Title 42 runs out. And Judge Samaniego wouldn't even talk about it back in the November election. Now he's real concerned about it.
I mean, given the situations that we're looking at and some of the differences that are coming up, I will say this is not even the first time this has been mentioned. There was that application for, again, roughly $24 million from federal agencies in anticipation of what is coming. So I'm willing to say that there's an aspect of maybe lessons learned from previous types of statements or attitudes being taken and taking this more seriously this time around. At least that's my perspective on it.
Okay. Also, the climate charter.
Mm-hmm.
In it, it mentions renewable energy as sources of solar, wind, hydroelectric, and geothermal, but it explicitly excludes nuclear power.
Yes, and so in the full interview, which again, just as the push for those online, because there was more than we could get to in a week worth of shows and still do any of the things we normally do, is that the situation is we ended up talking about nuclear, and basically, to paraphrase the answer they gave me, is that this ordinance, all of it, and the items that come into it from the actual full language that would be put into place with the change to the charter, is more or less, well, nuclear neutral. About the only real mention of it comes in, let me find it here, from section 9.2, the definition, subsection F, when it mentions clean renewable energy. About the only mention that comes along with it is about hydrogen energy, and a reference to a process of splitting water by electrolysis, and saying that it's allowable if it's done by hydrogen-produced solar-driven processes, but does not include hydrogen energy produced using natural gas, so-called blue or gray hydrogen, or nuclear pink hydrogen. So that's about that one line. That one reference to nuclear is about the only mention of nuclear in general in the entire document, essentially. So that basically the takeaway is that it's neutral on it, doesn't really have anything for or against it besides that mention.
You really believe that it's neutral? It says explicitly, it mentions that you cannot use nuclear power. It excludes nuclear power. It's in the thing. It says includes renewable energy sources such as solar, wind, hydroelectric, and geothermal. Includes hydrogen energy that is produced by splitting water by electrolysis or hydrogen produced by solar-driven processes, but does not include hydrogen energy produced using natural gas, which is a fossil fuel, or nuclear.
Okay, I get what you're saying there.
Excluding that. You're not supposed. They're not. They are explicitly in their climate charter excluding nuclear energy.
Okay, I get what you're saying about excluding it there. The way I'm talking about this item being neutral on it is opposed to what they're talking about with, again, fossil fuel-based plants. And for those that are outside of the city limits,
no, they don't say anything about outside the city limits for this clean renewable energy.
Oh, no, what I'm getting at here is that when it comes to the actual, I would say the negative view that this item takes on those plants that exist out of it, including the references of immediately reviewing contracts within 3 months of the passing of this, and then having city council vote on them with all available avenues of basically ending, particularly the water supply to that, that would be a negative outlook, as I was put it here. So, I mean, sure, it's excluded. I get what you're saying, and I would agree with you on that. And nuclear is not really, but what I'm saying is that nuclear isn't really regarded by this item kind of overall.
Okay, I disagree.
Okay.
Also, it says that sources of solar, wind, hydroelectric, and geothermal. Okay, we're talking about solar, wind. The rest of Texas, I think, that was supposed to be the reliable energy uses come from for our energy. And the rest of Texas was freezing to death at the time. We had that about a year or two ago, and we were okay. The reason why is because we had nuclear power provided by Palo Verde.
Yeah, Annie over on the YouTube mentioning that.
We're going to exclude nuclear power, and we're going to go solar, wind, and hydroelectric. Are we going to build a dam on the Rio Grande?
Good luck with that, I gotta say.
Good luck with that, really.
Because, yeah. So, okay, my perspective on that, to answer your question, is that, I mean, this, again, I understand what you're saying about it, but that this doesn't particularly regard, I mean, it doesn't say anything positive or negative except when it comes to the hydrogen, when it comes to nuclear. That's my reading of this, and that's basically the answer that we got out of the group. Again, from the full interview that's up over and linked on our YouTube, and we've linked on all of the rest of our socials, so you can go and see it for yourself there. I'll try to figure out that exact time code.
I've listened to a lot of their Trump propaganda on, and just with them talking about what their charter says, and they also had a little problem with this thing. Okay. Also, it's a matter that El Paso Electric, Messiah Frankie is so right. If you want to get rid of this thing, call the people in New Mexico, because El Paso Electric provides electricity all the way to Albuquerque. So they're going to be affected. All these people are going to be affected, not just El Paso. So call, if you want to derail this thing, call those people. Get this thing, make sure they know that, what's going to happen to El Paso Electric is going to happen to them.
And I get that, but also I'm not sure if there are many actual water, the functional aspects of the real enforcement parts of it when it comes to, again, essentially the water resources and the control of it is one of the major parts and mechanisms within this proposed charter amendment. And I'm just going to say this without anything else coming up specifically about it, that there might not be too much impact from, again, the Palo Verde nuclear plant in Arizona from directly that, just from my perspective.
Okay, and the distribution lines go, like I said, the distribution lines go all the way into Albuquerque, so it's going to affect them. Also, one other thing, I was thinking about buying silver, but balking because a lot of silver is used in demand for solar powers and panels. And one of the things I was looking at and saying, golly, if this keeps on going, which I don't want it to do, but I might as well buy some silver. So I kind of balked at the answer because, golly, as fast as technology changes these days, answer may be for climate change may be absolutely obsolete in the next year. So solar, wind, everybody's saying that the only answer, the real answer to this whole thing, is nuclear power. I mean, if you're really concerned about energy and climate change, then your only answer is going to be nuclear power.
I mean, the bottom line for me end up coming down to, besides all the specifics, is reliability of it, because doing anything besides ensuring reliability, as again the rest of Texas has been, I mean, there's even an item before the Texas Legislature right now, Texas Tribune today, a plan for Texas to build its own power plants could cost $7 billion more than expected. I think that puts it in roughly the $18 billion range to try and build up 10 gigawatts of on-demand power. So they're grappling with that. And that's the part of the grid we're not on because of the way the interchanges and all those things work. But if anything besides reliability is at one of the hearts of any of these issues, that's just setting it up for failure, whatever the good intentions may be. If you're not making it so that people who want to have power have it when they want it, that is not going to be a net benefit. I'm just going to say it that way.
Not in the near future. And battery storage,
No,
I mean,
sure.
that's going to be necessary for reliable energy to be available. We don't have that ability now. We may have it in maybe 5 or 10 years, but because of Biden and his administration, it makes it to where we can't even mine our own minerals for the batteries and everything. We have to go to other countries, China, who we're going to go to war with. So what are we going to do when we can't get batteries to power all these wonderful EV cars and all the electrical power that's going to come from these storage batteries?
I mean, there are a lot of problems inherent with it. I'll agree with you there. And basically filling in the gap between when power is generated and when it's being used is one of the key problems that has to be addressed to even just can demand confidence of this year. But tell you what, we're getting towards the top of the hour right now, so we got to take that break. Do appreciate the point of the call.
I appreciate the time.
Certainly.
Stay well, stay safe. God bless you. Everybody do what Messiah Frankie says. Call his officials. Call their representatives.
Absolutely will encourage that. So appreciate the point of the call.
And let's go, Brandon.
Certainly. You have a good one there.
Thank you.
All right. With that, we got to take that break. Go ahead and go straight into the top of the hour right now. So again, if you want to get on the line, add your 2 cents. That number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break and the top of the hour news on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update.
Traffic all
According
day.
to court documents,
News
the
Radio
missing woman
690.
whose body was
Heavy
found
congestion
in
is
Red
backing up
Sands
traffic
earlier
on the
this week
54
was
southbound
dating
at
the
exit
murder
21A
suspect.
with a
Christopher
backup.
Paul Maya was charged in connection to the murder of Michelle Morales Nakaza on Wednesday. Maya's arrest affidavit stated that Maya shot Morales Nakaza multiple times with an unknown weapon. A person who was identified as a witness told detectives that Morales Nakaza and Maya were in a toxic relationship for years and that Maya had said that he was going to kill her on multiple occasions. The rodeo is returning to the El Paso County Coliseum this summer.
Maintenance deck using stone with Tanzite Stone Decking. Tanzite Stone does not use any plastic whatsoever. It is decking that's naturally durable, just like everything made with stone. Tanzite stone doesn't scratch at all. The color will never fade. It is not slippery, even when wet. And it stays cool in the sun. Since Tanzite decking is made of stone, it's virtually indestructible. That's why we guarantee it with a lifetime warranty. Discover how incredibly durable and beautiful a stone deck can be. Go to Tanzite.com. That's TANZITE.com. Online, you'll see how it easily installs over any regular wood deck structure, and you can order a sample to test it for yourself. Build a deck with the durability of stone at Tanzite.com. That's TANZITE.com.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Heavy congestion is backing up traffic on the 54 southbound at exit 21A with a backup to Montana Avenue. Expect delays. I-10 eastbound Trans Mountain to the Patriots, a 9-minute delay. 8-minute delays northbound Zaragoza between the Loop and Montana. And there's a crash reported northbound Dyer at Sun Valley Drive. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
I'm at risk of having an unplanned pregnancy, of becoming a parent too soon, or making a decision I'll regret later. But if I do face an unplanned pregnancy, a modern adoption plan will put me in control.
I'll choose my baby's parents. And if I want to be in her life,
I'll get the support I need to make life better for me.
Better for my baby.
Modern adoption plans empower women and create more happy lives. Hear stories of empowerment at modernadoptionplans.org.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
We tend not to think about right now, but right now in front of us is victory over cancer. Right now, cancer research funded by the V Foundation is leading to better treatments and saving lives. When you give to the V Foundation, 100% of your donation goes directly to game-changing cancer research. Victory over cancer is there for the taking by you. Donate at V.org, because today's cancer research is tomorrow's victory.
Don't give up. Don't ever give up.
News on the hour and a half. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The U.S. Attorney General says the man accused of leaking classified Pentagon documents has been arrested. Merrick Garland said 21-year-old Jack Teixeira was apprehended. Former Vice President Mike Pence said this incident should open some eyes at the Defense Department.
There needs to be a full-scale review of who has access to this type of classified information and how it's being handled.
Teixeira is a member of the intelligence wing of the Massachusetts Air National Guard. Fort Lauderdale Airport will remain closed until Friday morning after a flash flood emergency. The city had its rainiest day in history this week, with flooding throughout Broward County and more on the way. Fort Lauderdale racked up almost 26 inches of rain in a 24-hour period, according to reports from the National Weather Service in Miami. A flood watch for the area is in effect until 8 p.m. The shooter who killed 5 people at the Old National Bank in Louisville was dealing with depression and anxiety. Peter Palmer, a spokesperson for the gunman's family, said his family was working with him and he was in treatment. Palmer said he's unaware of whether he was taking medication. Authorities also released 911 calls, including one from the shooter's mother, who said her son had a gun and was heading to the bank. Senate Republican leader Mitch McConnell will be on Capitol Hill next week when the Senate returns from recess. Lisa Taylor has more.
McConnell made the announcement today, more than 5 weeks after suffering a concussion at a private dinner in early March. The Kentucky Republican said the chamber has important business to tackle and big fights to win.
Florida's proposed 6-week abortion ban is heading to the governor's desk. House lawmakers gave final approval of the measure earlier today by a 70-40 vote. It passed the state Senate last week. You're listening to the latest from NBC News Radio. Some lawmakers in New York City are trying to stop private businesses and residential buildings from using facial recognition technology. Jacqueline Carl reports.
2 bills to ban the software are set to be introduced April 27th at a city council meeting. Violations could result in a $5,000 fine. Businesses like Madison Square Garden have been criticized for using the technology to remove lawyers involved in lawsuits against them from events at MSG and Radio City Music Hall. MSG tells the Post they use facial recognition to keep people safe. The NYPD has been using this technology for over 10 years.
The predictions are out for the upcoming Atlantic hurricane season. Researchers released their outlook earlier today, saying they expect an average year. They're calling for between 11 and 15 named storms in the Atlantic basin, with as many as 8 of those storms growing strong enough to become hurricanes. So-called catch and release may soon be a thing of the past in South Carolina. Scott Kimbler has the details.
Governor McMaster and many law enforcement officials have been vocal against the state's catch and release laws, which means a suspect can only be denied bond in the event of a murder charge. Now the state Senate has passed a bill that would reverse that, allowing defendants of violent charges to be denied bond as well. Now the bill goes back to the House of Representatives for approval, and ABC Carolina reporting that when passed, it will likely be signed into law by Governor McMaster.
The hit series The Marvelous Mrs. Maisel is coming to a close, and to celebrate the last season of the series, the show is taking over part of Manhattan's Fifth Avenue tomorrow. Cast members appeared on the Today Show to discuss the show and its momentous conclusion. Prime Video will commandeer a stretch between 46th and 56th Streets to honor the 1960s set series, highlighting the award-winning show with a host of experiences and activities for fans. Brian Shook, NBC News Radio.
Now, your chance to win $1,000. Enter this nationwide keyword on our website, grand. That's grand. Enter it now.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Want to save big on custom faux wood blinds, shutters, cellular shades, and more? Shop Blindster today and save up to 50% over comparable blinds from brick and mortar stores. Get custom blinds at low prices and free shipping at Blindster.com.
iHeartRadio Earth is here with little tips for a healthier planet. When dining out or shopping at the grocery store, ask for sustainable seafood. By choosing sustainable seafood, you can help reduce overfishing, bycatch, loss of top predators, illegal fishing, and other harmful environmental impacts. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth. iHeartRadio Earth is here with a new way to enjoy our beautiful planet. Reduce your impact on the environment this fall by packing a waste-free lunch for school or work. Avoid foods with excessive packaging. Use reusable cutlery, napkins, cups, bags, and containers, and recycle or compost any waste when possible. Brought to you by iHeartRadio Earth and the National Environmental Education Foundation. To find more tips for smarter, sustainable living, or to take action in your own community, go to iHeartRadio.com/Earth.
Texas, the Mega Millions jackpot is over $400 million, and the Lotto Texas jackpot is over $60 million. And you can now buy your lottery tickets right from your phone at jackpot.com. That's right, you can buy official Texas lottery tickets on your phone at jackpot.com. It's easy. Just go to jackpot.com, choose your favorite lottery game, pick your lucky numbers, and get your winnings instantly. Don't wait. You can't win the jackpot if you don't play. So go to jackpot.com right now and buy your lottery tickets on your phone. Go to jackpot.com. That's jackpot.com. Paid for by jackpot.com. You must be 18 or older to order a lottery ticket. Please play responsibly. If you or somebody knows a gambling problem, call 1-800-GAMBLER.
Pray.com's Meditative Prayers podcast is the best way to bring God's perfect peace into your night. Each meditative prayer helps you focus on God, fight anxiety, sleep better, and more.
As you close your eyes, ask God to come and have fellowship with you. Open yourself to the Holy Spirit and ask Him to minister to you.
Listen to Meditative Prayers on the iHeartRadio app or wherever you get your podcasts.
Bank of America has powerful digital solutions for local and global businesses, so you can make every move matter. Visit bankofamerica.com/banking for business to learn more. Bank of America, N.A., copyright 2023.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages like Edgar Ortiz is on board with us. Appreciate that. Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk, as we were saying. Conversation going on about dogs or the lack of control of them in there. Including Tritosac apparently having quite a bit of issues, including previously RJ saying, remember when you were concerned about a safe crime-free horizon, never thought about asking about loose dogs in the hood. And Tritosac, I guess every town has their pros and cons, saying that, I mean, there are those that are out there posting about their lost fur babies, and I get that, but I gotta say, I think that the issues we see in the outskirts of the community, I'm not surprised someone saying, oh no, my precious little angel got loose and then I never found them, kind of thing. Like, it's the unspayed pet population out there that is causing this. And again, it's almost by the attitudes of some people I know that live out there, it's like, yeah, it's a thing. So again, not a good thing, but yeah, it's just kind of pros and cons is the best way to put it, I guess. One question that had come up a little bit earlier is about some of the sourcing I've got here. When it comes to the actual denial rates, one of the main sources that I end up looking at is with the TRACK project, the Transactional Records Access Clearinghouse at Syracuse University. I referenced Buffalo. It wasn't like Buffalo University. Syracuse University is the one that has that. And as of some of the most recent data they have from the TRACK immigration section, that for decisions, all El Paso decisions of about representing approximately 1,100 and change. just over 1,000 of them were ending up being denied. So yeah, that puts us in the high 90% percentile of things actually being denied when decided in this area. They have it. So El Paso is not the biggest one of its. Oh, sorry, that was actually for the ones where there was no representation. In that case, actually, of all of the cases, about 2,100 of them that have gone back over, what's the actual time span here? Over recent years, let's put it that way. 2,100 and change, about 1,700 and a half were ending up being denied. So yeah, high 9%, among other things. So let's go ahead and get to those phone lines again. We are taking those calls, but if you wanted to get on the line, they're full up at the moment as we are definitely working through some issues and have had a lot going on. But if you want to get on that line, the number to do so, 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM is the number to call when it's available. So let's jump right in on it then. We do have Eric on the east side here with us right now. Eric, thanks for joining us.
Hello there. I always point out, or often recently, that, you're an opponent of Prop K and you purposely spread misinformation and fearmonger, to deceive El Pasoans to opposing it. Yesterday and today, you brought up the same talking point, same fear-mongering talking point and disinformation about reliability and dependability being a concern. That's literally written into Prop K, Section 911. The city of El Paso shall undertake all necessary efforts to prepare city infrastructure to ensure uninterrupted provision of basic services and utilities to city residents. So that's literally written into Prop K, and the reliability, dependability, it may not be a concern of theirs. It may cause interrupted service. That's you fear-mongering and spreading disinformation.
You seem to think I do a lot of pearl clutching. I hate to break it to you. I don't own a set of pearls. I guess my wife does, but none for my personal use. Let's put it this way. And so if you were actually doing a flat, fair reading of what I'm saying and what that item is, I would agree with that section of it. Does that make any level of sense to you?
You've repeatedly brought up that there's a serious concern about energy reliability and dependability when there isn't one. It's literally written into the bill. Just like yesterday, Frankie, he was super concerned about New Mexico being cut off from the El Paso Electric when there's literally nothing in a part of Prop K.
I don't think you heard Frankie right in that case. What Frankie was asking about the ability to vote on this because of the impacts he feels could be happening from it. Again, does that make sense to you?
Well, now you're just lying. Frankie was mentioning that he was concerned about energy being cut off from New Mexico and his lack of input. And also, there's a ton of
the input part
written into Prop K. There's a lot of input for, there's a lot of, city votes and community involvement involved in Prop K. So there's
but from the city side of things, Frankie, where he calls in as he claims himself to be in Mesilla, is outside of the body politic in which this decision is being made. Literally, if you want to go into further onto it, one of the things that we got into with the actual Prop K group, which if you weren't wanting us to do that interview, you can just say that part of it. But otherwise, actually hearing straight from them is a good thing in my mind. But yeah, when it comes to the actual board that is going to be assigned, the Climate Commission 9.14. When it comes to the actual appointments of them, they are going to be coming from, they're nominated by those on city council, and they best be members of the El Paso community. So when it comes to these levels of inputs, you do realize that what we're talking about, and particularly with the vote, it does literally exclude Frankie and therefore him, right? Does that make any level of sense to you?
There's community discussions and public votes at every level, and those non-paid volunteers, yes, they are picked by the city. But the point is that Frankie was concerned about El Paso Electric cutting off New Mexico from electricity when that's not out part of Prop K at all. So you should have told him to properly inform him and to address his concerns that, hey, that's not a part of Prop K. You were purposely misinforming.
It sounds like you're more mad about things I didn't say than what I actually did say. If you're mad that I'm not saying exactly what you would, here's a hint. We're different people. We're going to have different perspectives on this. And you're welcome to bring up your points here, but the major takeaways I took was from Frankie is about, I mean, literally the phrase he used, taxation without representation, about not being represented in this decision, which he did have concerns about the impact that could have on it. But I mean, I'll let him call in and speak on his own. But my takeaway from him was not being as cut off from it, but just that there, I mean, major things. If there's going to be different management of El Paso Electric, that would end up affecting him and this service area that he's in. So I think that would be actually the kind of crux of it here. So if you disagree with that analysis, you're welcome to, but you're going to try to say that I'm doing this because of reasons, I don't know. If you want to talk about the actual issues, you're welcome to, my dude. But if you're going to try and hear and say, no, this is bad and you're bad and everyone sucks about this and you should just listen to me, that's not how this is going to work. I hope you get that.
Yeah, and Ben and your other commenters were concerned about nuclear power plants being cut off from the water when the water is specifically involving fossil fuel industry activities. Nuclear power plants aren't fossil fuel activities. So you are, again, not correcting disinformation.
Dude, if you're not actually going to listen to me, I don't know how to help you. What I literally just said to Ben is that this document, this item, anything of it, there's one reference to nuclear, and otherwise, the thing we actually heard from the organizers is that it's neutral, and that's cutting off the power or the water to the nuclear power plant. That's in Arizona, I don't think is a factor anyway. So did you actually hear me say the things you're accusing me of, or are you just like mad in general and ascribing all of it to me?
No, you don't check the misinformation that your delusional conspiracy theorist callers have. Like Ben, he believes that COVID vaccines are part of some satanic plot involving the Vatican and Bill Gates. That's what his understanding of science.
So we're going to do the whataboutism now. Okay, dude, if you wanted to actually talk about the issues as opposed to saying, well, I disagree with this person and they're bad because they brought up these other ideas and you haven't corrected them. Again, not even what I've said, but what I apparently haven't said. Dude, if you like the item, let's talk about the item. Let's talk about what you actually appreciate about it. If you're just here to, it almost kind of smacks me like you heard the phrase, if you can't say anything nice, don't say anything at all, but backwards. If you only have something bad to say, if you don't have anything bad to say, don't say anything at all, because you literally need to call or comment about things that you're mad, upset, or, saying that someone is evil or wrong about. No, you don't actually use those phrases, but I'm going to say it revolves around that central concept. So this is just my plea. Let's just put it this way. Do you actually want to talk about the issue and why it's important to you? Is that even registering for you at all?
What you don't get is that misinformation and disinformation is like cancer and like a virus. It spreads and it robs people of the ability to make informed decisions and to vote properly. So for you to absolve yourself of any responsibility for these extremist nonsense ideas and false ideas, that's you being complicit.
Okay, dude, if you're not actually, I've asked you many times saying, okay, you've said that I promote things. Tell me when I said those. And now you're saying, well, you don't correct it, and therefore you're complicit with it now. If you're going to keep moving the goalposts on me here, I don't think anyone's ever going to score anything. But also, let me just say this. I literally didn't even say what you just ascribed to me. These things are online. I stand by what I say. We deal with a lot of different opinions on it here. And if you're wanting me to curb stomp everyone that you disagree with, simple answer, no. Because we're not going to do that. We are here for discussion. And so people are going to bring up a viewpoint. Some I disagree with, some I disagree with. But all of them usually end up being different. And if you're just wanting to say, I have to lambast all of them to your satisfaction, again, simple answer, no. So, again, I invite you to call them however much you want. But I'm also just going to stress, as I always do, if you want to talk about the issues, do you have anything you would actually like to say about what you like about Proposition K? For example, anything at all?
Absolutely. Yeah. It's
Please.
going to bring in money, it's going to make us less dependent on the monopoly that El Paso Electric has. But, people come to you for answers. They want to be concerned about local issues. And when you don't check their disinformation, what's your job? They're asking you for insights and knowledge about city elections and important matters, and you're allowing them to just believe nonsense. that prevents them from being able to vote.
Again, my dude, I don't think you're actually listening to me. You're taking what other people say and what I say and conflating it all together. Yeah, people come up with a lot of different viewpoints, of some of which, again, agree with, some of which I disagree. But when it comes to this item, what I have actually said about it, as opposed to what you're ascribing to me, which is literally incorrect, what you've said so far on this call, when it comes to the idea of, and when it comes to reliability, if you're saying that reliability is not important to you, I don't know what is. And again, there is an item in this and that part of it that I would agree with. Like, I mean, if you want to be mad about this, you can be mad all day long. And if you want to just say that, getting against people who you disagree with is the only thing you know how to do about it. But if you're not actually going to listen to what I have to say about it and then say I'm lying about it with what you didn't actually hear me say, I honestly don't know what to do for you. So I wish you luck in all your endeavors, however they may go. I tell you what, we got to take that next break right now. We've been doing this for a minute. So I appreciate the point in the call for what it's worth. But again, when it comes to discussion, knowing what's actually being said, the phrase I've known and known in the past is, are you listening or are you just waiting to respond? And if you're finding yourself in the latter category, you might not be having a discussion or even a debate. Let me just put it that way here. So that one part you said about what you like about it, sure, we can talk about that all you want. But if it's going to come down to, and therefore everyone who disagrees with me is wrong, you're accusing me of lying to myself in the comments. That doesn't even make sense, my dude. What am I lying about and to myself and the values that you tell me that I have? It's a great comfort to me to know that my values, my thoughts, my decisions are not dependent on what you think of me. So again, good luck, but we're going to go and take that well overdue for that next break, actually. So if you want to call on, get on your own 2 cents on the line. That number to do so is 915-544-5876, 915-544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
I-10 eastbound, slowing down with 7-minute delays from the Trans Mountain to the 54 Patriot. Slow traffic on the spur eastbound from the Gateway to the Loop. It's a 5-minute delay. Global Reach, traffic at a standstill there, approaching Montana Avenue with 40-minute delays. A crash with injuries northbound George Dieter at Vista del Sol, and an accident downtown Franklin Avenue at Santa Fe. Carrie Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. If you're like many people, you may think custom blinds is a job for expensive professionals. Well, at Blindster, if you have a tape measure and a screwdriver, you can install our custom blinds and save big. Plus, we guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
Okay, so we have the car payment, the rent, utilities,
and the repair bill.
What should we do?
I know. I'm going to CashNetUSA.com. I can apply in minutes, get an instant decision, and if approved, we could have the money in our account as soon as the same business day.
When you need money fast, be the hero. Go to CashNetUSA.com to apply for the money you need now. The exact timing as to when your loan funds will be available will be determined by your banking institution.
The El Paso Community Foundation supports the causes you feel passionate about here in the borderland, whether it's education, social services, arts and culture, the environment, health, or economic development. The El Paso Community Foundation has been promoting philanthropy and progress in our hometown region for more than 45 years. Make your mark with us. Start a fund today. For good, for El Paso, forever. Learn more at epcf.org. That's epcf.org.
Here's football legend Howie Long for Skechers hands-free slip-in footwear.
The world has gone hands-free, using the phone, turning on your lights, heck, even driving. However, if you want to put on a pair of sneakers, you still need to bend down and help your feet in. Until now. Introducing Skechers hands-free slip-in footwear. Let me tell you, these things are amazing. You don't need to lace up, and they're even better than your standard slip-on sneakers. This is next-level slip-in technology, where you don't need to reach down and help your heel in. You just step in in, and off you go. It's that easy. So what's the secret? There's a special smooth comfort pillow in the heel that helps your foot slide into place and also keeps your feet secure in heavenly comfort, which means they stay on just like a pair of laced-up sneakers. And you can even slip into them while you're sitting down. Make your life easier and go hands-free with Skechers' new hands-free slip-in footwear. You'll never have to struggle putting on your shoes again.
Get hands-free slip-ins for the whole family at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
Kids dream big. Protect your child's dreams by keeping them healthy. If your son or daughter is age 11 or 12, the American Cancer Society recommends giving them the HPV vaccine to help prevent HPV cancers later. Learn more at cancer.org/dreambig.
News Radio 690 KTSM.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, facebook.com/Talk El Paso, the Talk El Paso channel over on YouTube, Twitter at Talk El Paso, or twitch.tv, Andrew J. Polk. Apparently the laugh got through online here. Let me just put it this way. I have a wonderful time hosting this show. It's the only reason I still do it. And I hold no animosity for anyone that has not wronged me. And if you think that, the words will never hurt me, part of it is going to come through here, or that you're just going to try to troll, going with the Wikipedia definition of it here. Troll is a person who posts or makes inflammatory, insincere, digressive, extraneous, or off-topic messages online or in real life, with the intent of provoking others into displaying emotional responses or manipulating others' perception, thus acting as a bully or provocateur. If you're not actually here to talk about things and just here to insult people or not even have your analysis of what's going on here, I mean, come on. It's just, you're not actually talking about this stuff. If you're just here to insult people, there are literally a million other places to do that. We don't have a flame board. We are here to talk about the issues that affect us in the borderland. If you don't have anything to add to that, it's something we're going to move on from pretty quickly anyway, because if you actually listen to what we talk about, we try to delve into the issues, and we have a lot of passionate people on those things. And again, agreement and disagreement comes in maybe not equal measure, but certainly measures of their own, and that's what we focus on. Anyway, get back to those phone lines now. We do have, just keep that number in mind because they are full up, 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. We do have Jerry in the Northwestern line with us right now. Jerry, thanks for joining us.
Oh, thank you, Andrew, for taking my call. Appreciate it. You have a lot of patience putting up with some of these ignorant people out there. I admire that. It shows a lot of character on your side.
I appreciate that, but I mean, that's the best way I can think of to try to get to talking about the actual issues is you got to wade through some stuff sometimes.
Yeah. I called again on Proposition K.
Oh, sure.
And what's going on. The amendment that I was looking at yesterday was the Fifth Amendment to the Constitution. Okay. Nor shall property or private property be taken for public use without just compensation. Now, just compensation by the El Paso Electric currently is $4.3 billion. Is that correct?
So
is that what they just paid they just paid for the El Paso Electric a year ago or 2 years ago?
I think it was that's telling of how much time has passed. It's actually, I think one of our commentators said it was 2019, which feels like, wait, no, it couldn't have been that long ago, but it actually was because it was right before. And so, that was the purchase price. Essentially, part of the argument brought up by the Prop K proponents, the Sunrise El Paso group we were talking with, is that it's not actually valued that much. Essentially going along the idea that, I mean, that kind of thing you're talking about, eminent domain being the phrase for it, is based on market values, not what. So if say a roadway is coming through and they're saying, hey, we got to demolish your house, you don't tell them what price you're willing to give it up to them. They tell you, here's the price we are going to give you. You can either accept it or we're going to take you to court kind of situation.
Well, and does El Paso have more than money than J.P. Morgan Chase to hire lawyers and such like that and buy off judges and such like that?
That part I'm not going to comment on, but on the way money can be generated, I mean, JP Morgan is going to require essentially what they have in either A, their bank account, or B, what they can raise through, like, sale of stock or other assets. City of El Paso does have the ability to sell bonds, though kind of one of the points that we got into the end of yesterday was that given the heartache that has happened in this community already with other things like, I mean, there have been times when there's been, like, say, $500 million worth of bonds on the ballot when you talk about, various different entities, school districts, etc., and how that has had enough. I mean, they're not guaranteed. They certainly have not been, so I'm going to call it enough heartache with that. But then if you're going to talk about anywhere approaching total billions, I would have questions about that feasibility.
Oh, yeah, I do too. Have a lot of questions about it. Yeah. Again, our taxes are high enough.
Mm-hmm.
Where is the city of El Paso going to get all that money for them bonds? And who's going to buy them bonds?
Now, I will be fair and say it wasn't, I mean, basically what I asked about what's on the table for this to be accomplished when it comes to all available methods. And, I mean, that was one, but also things like eminent domain or what they said, basically other powers available to the city and leveraging that. So I'm not going to say it's totally constrained to any one of these methods, at the very least in the way they're putting it forth. I'll say I wasn't maybe totally satisfied with that answer because I would have liked, as I often do, more specificity. But them saying that most of these things are on the table, that there's basically nothing off the table, does lead to wondering, and particularly as another commentator or caller put it, what would be the actual way it's approached based on who's in power, who's on city council and the mayor, and if we have city manager, those kind of things at the time, how they decide to go about it.
And that changes every 2 to 4 years.
Mm-hmm. Correct.
So, okay. So it could, only last 2 years and then the whole thing be scrubbed. So I watched your interview with the Sunrise El Paso and the other two ladies, and what they look to seem is they have issues or a bias against fossil fuels. Would you assess that as yes or no?
I mean, by my reading of the text, it is pretty much, I mean, and the way they talk about it, being opposed to the fossil fuel industry in general, I'd say it's a pretty fair yes, that they dislike it.
And yeah, so how many of them drive cars and heat their house with natural gas or whatever? If they were serious about it, they would quit doing all that. Just like the former Vice President Gore, he says that because of his dealings with the environmental changes, that he's required to have an airplane and fly whenever he needs to and all that stuff. That airplane puts out more carbon stuff than you and I together produce in our lifetimes. And it's not only you and I. That, from what I understood, it's like 100 people produce in their lifetimes.
Oh yeah, I mean the amount of pollution that gets put out by even any particular plane flight, even start getting down to the small ones, is an order of magnitude more than you or I in our like standard everyday lives. I want to say that their perspective on that is not necessarily as a. Basically, there's an argument that's been out there for a while now that having the focus on conservation, on environmentalism, on these kind of concepts only at the individual level misses the kind of one of the case in points has been with the whole idea of the plastic straw debate and how that was a cause celebre after there was that one video of the straw being pulled out of the nose without getting too graphic of a sea turtle. And everyone's, oh man, these are awful, or like an awakening moment for a lot. And that's when you started seeing they already existed, but the push for like the biodegradable straws, the paper straws, those kind of things coming back. And essentially what they're kind of getting into here, these is my paraphrasing on them, not exactly what they said, is that trying to put it on the individual is unreasonable because of all of the way programmatically and systematically these big things end up happening, and that if you're not looking at the big end of it and only putting on the individual, it's never going to be solved. Essentially, from their perspective, I think that's what they're getting at.
But it's always the individual that it affects. It doesn't affect J.P. Morgan Chase. J.P. Morgan Chase, $4.3 billion is pocket change to them when they deal in $1 trillion, in their banks around the world. So it affects the little guy. The little guy's always the one that takes it in the rear.
Yeah.
Excuse my French there.
I think we're good to go with that anyway.
Okay. I have another question. And in your interview, and I only got to watch about half of it,
Sure.
one of the ladies was saying that they were going to have employees have to be put under the authority of this new environmental thing that they're going to have, and they're going to basically work for that environmental people doing environmental things. So does that mean that the city's going to have to hire more people to take up the slack that they were pulled from, the jobs they were pulled from, to perform those jobs?
In shorts, yes, I would say to your question. So you're referring there to the section 9.7 climate jobs, and specifically 9.7-3, transitioning current city employees to climate work. And so they talk about how, the new climate department, I mean, basically all of the stuff that comes in that ordinance ends up going towards the creation of a climate department once this part of the climate policy would be incorporated to the charter, again, if voted in by El Paso voters. And so my paraphrasing of the answer to the question is that, yes, those in other duties would be moved to this new department, and then there could eventually be backfilling of other parts of it into their, original jobs. They're looking for I think things were mentioned around the lines of competencies or skills that are useful to this new department more than where they currently exist, that kind of thing.
Okay, well, who's going to pay for them new jobs? Is it going to be J.P. Morgan Chase, or is it going to come out of the tax dollars of El Paso citizens and property owners?
The second latter, obviously. And so that is some of the costs that we've talked about. One of the studies that has been mentioned that we asked, and we did air this portion yesterday, was about that $150 million roughly amount that has been talked about. Basically, the hard costs of the infrastructure and putting things into place, putting in the solar panels in order to have the city of El Paso operations at those, 2045 goals, among other things. But then also there is, and this has been put more out on, I would say, the Sunrise Group's social media, that this would cost, once fully up and running, about $5 million a year in operation. So for that department, for these employees, those kind of things being added on to the city's budget is their estimate so far.
So $5 million more than what we're currently paying.
Correct.
Okay. So where is that money going to come from? Is it going to come from taxpayers and property owners?
Yes, simply yes.
Yes. So I'm not trying to put out fear things here, but there are people out there that do put out fear tactics, use fear tactics and disinformation, but we question this, and people like me and the other Andrew and Ben and other people, we question this because it's coming out of our pockets. We're the ones that's paying for it. It's not people that don't own property. They don't own any property. They're not going to pay for it. Now, they may pay for it in their rent, okay, but are they going to put a tax on food? The state of Texas has a law against taxing food.
True.
Okay, so is the city going to put a tax on food? And if they do, will they have to hire lawyers to fight the state of Texas to make it fair? That's not equitable. That's not equal. You're putting a burden on people that own property more than you're putting it on anybody else. And you're going to drive people out that have property. They're going to have to either stop paying taxes and have a revolt that way, or they will go down and they'll fire everybody, and some of it might be at gunpoint if it gets too bad, and hire new ones at the city level. So, people like me worked our whole lives to get a little house that we can retire in, and now they're going to out taxes out to where people like me will have to move and start over with another 30-year mortgage, which would put me in my 90s to pay for. And that's not right. They are causing us problems, the citizens of El Paso, by doing some of this stuff. I agree that the big corporations are greedy, but it sounds to me like some of these people that are running this and trying this are also greedy. They need to check their own motives and their own ethics. Well, thank you, Andrew, for having this conversation with me. I sure do appreciate it.
Yeah, sure thing. Thanks for the point in the call. Do appreciate it.
Bye-bye.
All right, and with that, boy, I keep blowing up the brakes here. We got to take that next one. We got more calls in line. We got more comments that we'll be getting into, and we posted up on the social media. We had a question about where actually is the text of Proposition K. So we posted up the link to the entire ordinance, about 10 pages worth, 6 with the actual language in it, and that's what we ended up breaking down, among other things. Not exactly line by line, but some of the major questions I had in that interview. We'll relink that again today if you want to go through that whole 2 hours and change, like 2 hours and 11 minutes. And so, if you're very interested in wanting to know about this, and particularly those that either were the proponents or even in some cases the authors of some of this language, at least it's a good starting point in my mind if you want to have the understanding and come to your own decision about it. So let's go and take that next break right now. You are tuned in to Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. That phone number, it's full up, but just keep it handy. 915-544-5876, 544-KTSM. Back after this break with more Talk El Paso here on News Radio 690 KTSM. Stay tuned.
El Paso's News Radio 690 KTSM.
Hello, everyone. This is Robert Olguin with your KFOX 14 news update. According to court documents, the missing woman whose body was found in Red Sands earlier this week was dating the murder suspect. Christopher Paul Maya was charged in connection to the murder of Michelle Morales Nakaza on Wednesday. Maya's arrest affidavit stated that Maya shot Morales Nakaza multiple times with an unknown weapon. A person who was identified as a witness told detectives that Morales Nakaza and Maya were in a toxic relationship for years, and that Maya had said that he was going to kill her on multiple occasions. The rodeo is returning to the El Paso County Coliseum this summer. A rodeo event is scheduled for June. It's a 2-day event. It'll be held on June 16th and 17th. The last time a rodeo was held in El Paso County at the Coliseum was in 2016. The first documented rodeo in El Paso was in 1896. This has been your KFOX 14 news update. I'm Robert Olguin.
News Radio 690. Traffic all day.
We got a blocked on-ramp in the lower valley on the loop. Southbound on Loop 375 at Pan American Drive, the on-ramp is blocked due to a stalled vehicle. Slow traffic on the 15 eastbound from Trans Mountain to the Patriots, a 10-minute delay. Still slow on the spur eastbound Liberty Expressway from the gateway to the loop. It's a 7-minute delay. And heads up for a crash downtown. Franklin Avenue at Santa Fe blocking the right lane, causing a backup. Try Mills Avenue or North Mesa Street as your alternates downtown. Kerry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery. We're going to see gusty winds at times through the overnight and then windy and cooler for our Friday. Not 80s, but high around 77 for tomorrow. The weekend so far still looking very nice. Just breezy conditions on Saturday with a high around 75 degrees. Partly cloudy skies, a little warmer for your Sunday with a high around 82. From the KFOX 14 Severe Weather Center, I'm Chief Meteorologist Brad Montgomery.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Shopping for new blinds? At Blindster, we offer over 50 different blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices, custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. Shop at home and order 10 free samples of any product before you buy. Blindster.com.
I'm at risk of having an unplanned pregnancy, of becoming a parent too soon, or making a decision I'll regret later. But if I do face an unplanned pregnancy, a modern adoption plan will put me in control. I'll choose my baby's parents. And if I want to be in her life, I'll get the support I need to make life better for me. Better for my baby. Modern adoption plans empower women and create more happy lives. Hear stories of empowerment at modernadoptionplans.org.
Hi, I'm Burt Ward, Robin from TV's Batman, inviting you to feed your dog natural, non-GMO, Gentle Giants dog and puppy food. Dogs eating Gentle Giants and following our special feeding and care program are living as long as 27 healthy, active years with a wonderful quality of life. Holy wow, 27 years! Think of all the extra years you could enjoy with your dog at Target, H-E-B, and stores near you. Try Gentle Giants cat and kitten food, too.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. If you're like many people, you may think custom blinds is a job for expensive professionals. Well, at Blindster, if you have a tape measure and a screwdriver, you can install our custom blinds and save big. Plus, we guarantee they'll fit. Blindster.com.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Stay informed at KTSMradio.com. News Radio 690 KTSM El Paso.
Live from the KTSM AM 690 studios, it's Talk El Paso with Andrew J. Polk. To be a part of the show, call 915-544-KTSM or follow on Facebook at facebook.com/Talk El Paso. Now here's your host, Andrew J. Polk.
Thank you all so very much for joining us here for Talk El Paso, airing live on News Radio 690 KTSM. I'm your host, Andrew J. Polk. Thank you for tuning in, however you may be doing so, be it on air, online, live streaming through the free and reliable iHeartRadio app, or joining us over on the various social media pages we're up on these days, Facebook, YouTube, Twitter, and Twitch, either under Talk El Paso or Andrew J. Polk. I know I promise not to entertain trolling on it here, but sometimes I'm just going to say, if you're going to come at me, you best come correct, because if you're just going to say, oh, he's wrong and lying, and you can't actually say what I said, then maybe you're just not the most credible part here. Eric McNabb saying, point out 3 specific ways Polk was purposely misinforming you all. All you do is lie about what he had said. You just can't think objectively, again, with the ad hominems when it comes to it. But also, tell me what I said. Quote me. You love quoting me when you think you can get away with it. But, oftentimes, I think this is at least the 5th time I've challenged you for that, and I will fully expect you'll come back wanting with it if you're going to actually talk about what I said, as opposed to whatever interpretation you're putting out there is that always seems to fit your narrative. Just saying there. Go ahead and give me the examples. Read them to me. Read me what I said as was wrong, and I'll be happy to take that. And NE Plus over on the YouTube. I love reading the original text. Always so much more informative than sound bites. Yeah, we posted up again the entirety of the ordinance ordering Prop K to see for yourself. So anyway, we are going to go ahead and squeeze in the phone calls that we can. All right, we do have Raul in the Northeast with us right now. Raul, thanks for joining us.
Hey, Andrew. You know, champions of democracy decry the super low voter turnout. And
Certainly.
The reasons people don't go out to vote could include that most folks don't think their votes matter, you know. And many people think that the political system is rigged. And that's what Trump has been telling people, you know. He said that it was rigged by money and that he contributed to both sides and got when he wanted, when he called. Now, the reality is that we have what the secret primary, and it's not the secret. I mean, people who run for office know about it. The first primary, the money primary. You got to get a lot of money. It takes a lot of money to run winning campaigns. I mean, and now what they're spending for, you know, justices and statewide offices. I mean, it's big bucks. And most folks don't have money to give to politicians. They're busy just getting by in a country where 60% of them can't come up with $1,000 without having to sell something or having to borrow the money. A country where only 50% of the Americans are stockholders, and yet that's in the news every day, you know, on the radio, on the TV, you know, all over the place, like it affected most people. It doesn't. Really actually affects very few folks. Very few have most of the money at that, of the 50% that have money in the market. And most folks don't vote because they're just too busy getting by in a capitalist America. And even though in El Paso is a government town, with the biggest employers being the school districts, city and county governments, and Uncle Sam with Customs, Border Patrol, civil servants, and UTEP and EPCC. We're not a big manufacturer of anything. And I don't think we're going to become one. If the opportunity there is obviously over there in Juarez, where the labor is a whole lot cheaper, something that corporate America discovered a long time ago and probably will continue to profit from that. It's not all bad, but that's the reality. So most politicians get most of their money from a very few group of people who have business with the city and the government or businesses in El Paso. And so these plutocrats, they usually give money to both sides. And the sad thing about it and the reality of it is they can always find enough people to do their bidding, to prevent change, or move things in their direction, which is always about making more money for themselves and not about cleaning up our dirty air or preventing its further pollution or creating a community where people have good paying jobs with benefits. And in fact, and not just fictionally, a government of the people, by the people, and for the people, rather than a government of purchased politicians by plutocrats for their corporations. So to try to deal with this locally, I got an idea. First of all, races should be partisan to weed out the dinos and the rhinos. We don't need them. That's secret stuff. I don't like that. Come out with your politics. Let us know who you are and what you believe in, okay? Don't be a secret guy. Don't be a dino or a rhino. And because voter turnout is so low, and sometimes very small organizations can make a difference with a swing vote. Organizations like APISO, I remember there was accountability meetings that used to have. Very impressive. And so in an effort to make our city government more representative and more democratic and dramatically drive up voter turnout, I think what we should do is we should have one more city representative added to city council who would represent the entire community at large, but be chosen by a lottery of voters for one 4-year term at a current city council's rep salary, which is more than most El Pasoans make. That would really be good with the benefits, which is what's more than most El Pasoans have, those kind of benefits. And this would cost a whole lot less, I'll tell you what, this one extra person than an arena or a ballpark or a failing trolley, and all the lottery winners would have to do is agree to do the job of a city council representative. They got to show up, they got to go to meetings, and on top of that, they need to listen to lectures by UTEP professors on El Paso's problems and proposed solutions, because they don't have to spend half their time raising money and campaigning. They're only there for 4 years, and they don't have to do that. See, they just got to represent the community at large. And they don't have to be politicians, brown nosers, those politicians with their moist finger up in the air all the time to see which way the wind is blowing. They don't have to be what's called homo politicus, just a voting citizen. And this would open up this opportunity to most El Pasoans, not just homo politicus and those purchased by the homo plutocrats. And here's the really neat thing. We can educate our kids to someday be city representatives without having to be homo politicus, without having to sell themselves to the people with the money, and get them excited about that equal opportunity for all El Pasoans.
I mean, the idea of having more people involved, I'll fully agree with you on the idea that if I have the most well-worn soapbox I got is about voter turnout. And I'm getting ready to wind up into that one, and why I keep saying almost every time we talk about the voting is make your plan to go vote, because we got a whole lot of complainers in this community, but not a whole lot of people actually willing to go out and to do something about it, even the incredibly low burden of voting. Because, sure, they got people who are, workaday lives and don't have focus on much everything else. I would also agree that there's some disconnect beyond just the process of voting. Or maybe it's about the impact of it and what it means to them. Everyone ends up getting or has something to say whenever it comes to stuff like property taxes, income taxes, those aspects of it. But most of them end up not getting the connection between what they do in the ballot box and what comes with that. So I'm not sure that's within Texas it would be possible to have random selection, but also I would say if we're talking about out of the voting public this being chosen, we're still talking about a much smaller pool than just the general population. It's an interesting idea. I don't know how feasible it would be in reality, but just getting people more involved, more part of their system, I think is incredibly important there. So, we got around to the local here, so I appreciate that. And the point in the call and the idea, though, again, I think putting that into practice would be more problematic. If at all possible, then it's might be worth, but heck, I'm willing to focus on anything. I just want people to go vote. Simple enough here. So appreciate the point in the call. Let's squeeze in what we can towards the end here. We do have Stephen on the east side with us right now. Stephen, thanks for joining us.
Yeah.
Hey there, Stephen. What's on your mind?
I just wanted to call and just clarify a few things. I'm actually not against solar power when it comes to
Sure.
proposition. And I understand that a lot of it's like based on a study, but it's millions and millions of dollars. So I just had a couple questions in my mind about how well solar power works, and will it actually, like I said, what my concern is, will the voters of El Paso actually end up paying less if they implement something? And business owners, I don't know if you know of any business owners or big businesses or government buildings in El Paso, have they successfully implemented solar on their roof? Or actually, I think a good idea is like parking lots. People like parking in the shade, and
Sure.
You're not going to take extra space or extra land or anything by doing something like that. So has there been successful implementation in El Paso of that kind of thing, whether it's business or government buildings?
I will say I don't have the full scope of it, so I can't give you that. There is one example that does come to mind, again, not too far down the street from our offices here. What is it? Mesa and, I forget the cross street, the Hoppy Monk, for those that know. And let me see if I can find it on maps for you. They have actually had a big project that wrapped up not too long ago, where it was they actually Brentwood, there we go, Mesa and Brentwood, the intersection I'm talking about, and they basically did exactly that. They have now had part of their parking lot covered by solar panels, and it was a huge project, impacted the business for a while, and so it has been done. I'm aware of it, and then there's other places where, like, I think I've seen it most often in doctors' offices. Not saying that they're the only ones who have done it, but that's the places I've noticed it most of all, where they've done basically that, covered up part of the parking and, done shaded parking structures and then having solar panels on top of it. James Ratcliffe asking that, military uses solar panel for some things. I referenced the 1st Armored Division headquarters the other day. So it has been done in some places, but I mean, there's even been suggestions of doing that like on the highways, covering the roadways, or on, say, like canals and stuff like that. Maybe not totally in this community, but in general, but actually implementation of it. I will say it's going to be a more expensive implementation because you're not just putting it on bare ground and running your, the wires, infrastructure that goes along with it anywhere you want. You then have to deal with the location as it is. So I'm not going to call it the cheapest way that you could end up doing it, though in terms of utilizing the space that already exists, it's an interesting concept.
Right. So rather than, spend millions and millions of dollars on municipalization or whatever it might be, because if you think about it, I think El Paso Electric can't increase rates unless it's approved by city council or something like that. Is that correct?
In part, in essence, city council does have a say in it, but if there can't be an agreement reached, it does eventually end up going to the court case. And I'm not going to call myself the expert on it, but my impression of the way it is, it's called a rate case, is that there's a couple other regulatory bodies involved in it as well, saying that, okay, this makes sense, is required for efficiency, is required for reliability, like they need this power generation capability, therefore these rates are approved. The way it seems to go for the most part is that the rate increase is requested. It ends up going before city council. They say no. The other agencies may or may not say yes or no, depending. And then it goes before essentially a court-like process. It's not like a full trial or anything. And then it comes out to be about half the rate of what it was. That seems to be the pattern anyway.
Right. So it's not full monopoly. They can gouge and do whatever they want. There's some restrictions on what El Paso Electric can do. I mean,
in a nutshell,
would be maybe to do some trial implementations of solar. You put it on some schools, do some school parking lots, government buildings, whatever it is, or look at the previous people who have done it and say, well, does this actually save money or not? And if you don't have a good enough data from El Paso, from other examples, then do a trial of certain buildings or different parking lots and those kind of things, and then test it out that way to see if it actually saves money or not. I mean, rather than just kind of going full bore on it without even knowing how it's going to work out.
It's an interesting concept there, but tell you what, I have not been watching the clock correctly. We are actually out of time here for this show. So tell you what, we're going to be doing Free for All Friday tomorrow, and I'll give you a chance to call back in then. So I do appreciate the points in the call. All right. Have a good one there. Yeah, I decided that we're going to devote time to this, and we devoted a lot, and now we're out of time here. So we're actually going to have to leave it there for today. We're out of time here for this program. So I want to thank everyone that did tune in, call in, comment, participate in the show. Free for All Friday's coming, y'all, and I'm sure we'll keep doing this, among other things. So stay tuned, and we'll see y'all tomorrow. So until then, until next time, stay safe out there. Look twice for motorcycles when out on the road, and have a great evening, y'all. We'll see you tomorrow.
Traffic all day. News Radio 690.
Disabled vehicles off on the right shoulder, I-10 westbound at Yarborough and I-10 westbound at Geronimo. I-10 eastbound slow with 10-minute delays, Trans Mountain to the Patriot. And accidents blocking the right lane downtown on Franklin Avenue at Santa Fe. Stop traffic on Global Reach. Extra slow with 40-minute delays approaching Montana Avenue, southbound. Harry Edwards, El Paso traffic.
This report is sponsored by Blindster.com.
Hi, I'm Kyle at Blindster.com. Shopping for new blinds? At Blindster, we offer over 50 different blinds, shades, and shutters at low prices, custom made for your windows, and shipping is free. Shop at home and order 10 free samples of any product before you buy. Blindster.com.
Cards issued by Sutton Bank and Celtic Bank, members of FDIC. Terms and conditions apply. What if you could do business without busy work? With Ramp, you can. Ramp is the future of finance with smart automation, corporate cards, and spend management. Just imagine, no more expense reports or shuffling wrinkled receipts. No more slogging through invoices or getting surprised by unexpected charges. Just your business's big idea with smart spend controls, automation that crushes busy work, and real-time insights so you can make it happen. In other words, Ramp completely reimagined finance to make it work for your business. Get set up, issue corporate cards, and start making payments in less than 15 minutes. See how Ramp does finance. Join today and get $250 just for signing up. Just go to ramp.com/finance. That's ramp.com/finance to get $250 for signing up. That's ramp.com/finance.
Portions of the following program were pre-recorded.
Here's football legend Howie Long for Skechers hands-free slip-in footwear.
The world has gone hands-free, using the phone, turning on your lights, heck, even driving. However, if you want to put on a pair of sneakers, you still need to bend down and help your feet in. Until now. Introducing Skechers hands-free slip-in footwear. Let me tell you, these things are amazing. You don't need to lace up, and they're even better than your standard slip-on sneakers. This is next-level slip-in technology, where you don't need to reach down and help your heel in. You just step in, and off you go. It's that easy. So what's the secret? There's a special smooth comfort pillow in the heel that helps your foot slide into place, and also keeps your feet secure in heavenly comfort, which means they stay on just like a pair of laced-up sneakers. And you can even slip into them while you're sitting down. Make your life easier and go hands-free with Skechers' new hands-free slip-in footwear. You'll never have to struggle putting on your shoes again.
Get hands-free slip-ins for the whole family at a Skechers store, Skechers.com, or wherever stylish footwear is sold.
News on the hour and the hat. Traffic and weather all day. News Radio 690 is KTSM AM El Paso, an iHeart radio station.
NBC News Radio, I'm Brian Shook. The U.S. Attorney General says the man accused of leaking classified Pentagon documents has been arrested. Merrick Garland said 21-year-old Jack Teixeira was apprehended. The Defense Department is calling the leak a deliberate criminal act.
We continue to work around the clock, along with the interagency and the intelligence community, to better understand the scope, scale, and impact of these leaks.
Pentagon spokesman Pat Ryder says the military has stringent rules in place when it comes to access to classified materials, and the leak indicates a violation of those rules. A decision from a grand jury is expected to come as early as Monday if charges should be filed against any of the officers who shot